A major controversy has gripped the world. Months after the mysterious bombings of the vital Nordstream energy pipelines, it's still not clear who carried out the operation. As the Ukraine war rages on in the background, both Russia and the West have blamed the other for this act of sabotage. However, recent investigations carried out by journalist Seymour Hersh and US intelligence agencies seem to indicate a Western hand behind the bombings. We look at the evidence to answer a simple question: who is responsible? Just to recap, the Nord Stream pipelines are two undersea energy gas pipelines that were built to transport cheap Russian natural gas to major European economies like Germany. While Nord Stream 2 never became operational, Nord Stream 1 served as a key artery for the supply of Russian energy to the European continent. Over the course of a decade, Nord Stream 1 supplied a third of the European Union's gas imports from Russia. However, after Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, Russia began cutting supplies before shutting them off entirely in August last year. In the midst of these tensions, a series of underwater explosions in September damaged both Nord Stream pipelines and caused major gas leaks. Swedish authorities publicly stated that the explosions may have been the result of sabotage. Given the precision with which the bombings were carried out, experts speculated that the saboteurs might have been powerful states with considerable military capabilities. Top politicians from European Union countries like Poland blamed Russia for sabotaging the pipelines, which Moscow denied. Moscow, for its part, blamed its Western opponents for sabotaging the pipelines in an effort to further cripple the Russian economy. The sanctions were not enough for the Anglo-Saxons. They moved on to sabotage, said Russian President Vladimir Putin. So, who was really responsible? Well, there are a few theories. Analysts have argued that Moscow may have carried out the bombings in an effort to unsettle and intimidate Western energy buyers who have tried to build alternative pipelines near Nord Stream. Others have argued that Western powers, especially the United States, have a strong incentive to have sabotaged the pipelines, given their long-standing historical opposition to how the pipelines made Europe dependent on Russia. However, two investigations have grabbed global headlines. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh published a report where he accused the United States of carrying out the bombings with assistance from European allies. Meanwhile, a report in the New York Times indicated that US intelligence agencies suspect that pro-Ukrainian groups carried out the bombings. Seymour Hersh, for his part, argues that US Navy divers planted explosives near the pipelines, which were then detonated by radio-controlled devices. Hersh believes that America was aided by countries like Norway. While Russia and China have supported Hersh's theory and have called for an investigation, America and a number of Western countries have denied the story. A lot of the story rests on Hersh, who claims to have had access to a single source who directly planned the bombings. Therefore, this is really a question of one journalist's credibility. Hersh has been one of the world's most famous investigative journalists for at least the last few decades. For example, he exposed the My Lai massacre, where American soldiers fighting in Vietnam killed dozens of innocent civilians. However, in recent years, his credibility has taken a hit. For example, Hersh accused Turkey of carrying out chemical bombings in Syria, when much of the world was blaming Russia. However, his story was heavily criticized for being factually inaccurate and overly reliant on single anonymous sources. So, what one thinks of Hersh's story largely comes down to what one thinks of Hersh himself. Then we have the New York Times report, which cites numerous US government sources who believe pro-Ukrainian groups carried out the bombings. This has raised the possibility of the Ukrainian government's involvement. However, the same US government sources are unclear about whether the government in Kyiv had a hand in the bombings. This is not a new conundrum. According to the New York Times report, the American intelligence establishment has long been worried about how little it knows about Ukraine's covert operations. Washington still hasn't identified the perpetrators of the bombings of the prominent Kerch Bridge in Russia, as well as the perpetrators who killed the daughter of a prominent Russian nationalist in a car bombing last year. According to the New York Times report, there is a suspicion among American officials that elements of the Ukrainian government have authorized covert operations against Russia. However, President Zelensky's government in Kyiv has loudly denied this allegation. Even US officials are unsure about who specifically might have ordered the attacks on the Nord Stream pipelines. Despite the bombshell theories of recent weeks, concrete proof seems hard to find. As such, the Nord Stream bombings remain a mystery for now.